What's going on, y'all? We back again. Still out here training for this marathon. It's a little cold this morning. Not gonna lie to you. It's my first time actually really running in the cold. So I can definitely see why they say in through your nose, out through your mouth. Another thing that I've learned too with that method is it also is therapeutic, and it also like calms your body down at the same time. I notice many a times when I'm running, it's like the shortness of the breath, even when it's coming in through your nose, out through your mouth, you'll get to that point where you'll be able to take that deep breath and like really flush that shortness out, and it feels like it relaxes like all over again. Hey, that's just me, okay? I'm just finding out as we going through this training for this marathon. So I received a question yesterday. So I'm really huge into all areas of self-development. So anything that you see up here is from my community, the people that I've reached out to, and also actually raw questions that they want answers to. So the question that I'm gonna address this morning is wealth. How do we create wealth? Shout out to Kenny, man. Hey, Kenny is somebody who's definitely progressive. He's gotten his feet wet in a lot of things. May not have found success in some of those things yet, but we're gonna do an interview as well up here, but I'm gonna give him a brief overview to be able to, give him something to think about. So rule number one, you're gonna have to drain everything that you think you know about money. The reason I said that is because you got to be receptive. That wealth is truly a mindset. You can truly be wealthy in anything, but we're talking about that money. So let's talk about it. To be able to be wealthy, you're going to have to drain everything in your brain that you previously knew about money to be able to learn what you need to know. Second, you're going to have to think with an employer's state of mind. You're gonna have to think a little bit of leadership development, not how much work can I do, but what opportunity can I provide for my workers to do? Do they have the best technology? Do they have the best tools technically to be able to perform the job that you're asking them to do? Even if they are contracted out, they still need those tools. Okay, so now going into leadership and development, you yourself, it all comes back to you again. You yourself have to take responsibility to be able to lead whatever industry that you are trying to be a part of. We can use landscaping, or let's say washing cars. Eventually you will have to know about the levels of the grass, right? What types of fertilizers, what type, of how high should I cut, my deck to be able to look, make my grass look like a bed. For an example, that is how you're gonna have to think about whatever industry that you're in. So you're gonna have to be that expert to be able to lead, because when I tell you, you're gonna be surprised at how many questions that newcomers and experienced individuals that you hire ask. It's alarming. So let me turn around here. The reason for that, hold on, let me turn it back this way. Oh Lord, messing up. So the reason for that, let me make sure it's still going. Okay. It's because when you start getting those questions in, they're gonna demand an answer, and not just a generic answer, an answer that you can explain to them in depth over and over and over again. Rule number two, you need to be able to create a system for anybody that you plan on following you. So wealth creation is actually pretty simple when you take time and actually create a system. So, going to the bank, the first thing that they ask you for outside of your articles of incorporation, all of those documents, your EIN, the very next thing that they want to know is, where is your business plan? Also, too, they want to know your mission statement. If you have an LLC, they want to know your operating agreement. They want to know your articles of incorporation. How is this business being ran? How is it being governed? How do you plan on paying your employees? What is your profit, expected profit margin? If you ever notice, when you go to the bank, go to the city to get your business license, they're gonna ask you, what are your estimated gross receipts? Now, in your brain, most of the time, when people do start, they start with no customers, so it's hard to gauge. And it's like, well, dang, like, how much, what am I supposed to, put here, because I haven't even made any sales yet, right? So that's another thing going into number 3. Start buying customers. Stop starting on ground zero. That's a huge problem when it comes to thinking about how you're gonna grow. So don't you think, if you go to the city and they ask you estimated gross receipts, don't you think if you had a business that already had customers and already had revenue coming in, that you would be able to answer that question better, because you would have access to the books and you can tell the city, hey, this is how much cash flow that we expect to be, coming in this year. Okay, that's a huge gem right there. I'm gonna let you know, that's a huge gem. You may want to watch that again. So another thing going forward, are you gonna be looking to hire, or are you gonna be looking to hire contractors? The difference between W-2 and the difference between 1099. One thing about it, you can contract people out, which would seem less of a liability, because they pay their own taxes, they have to worry about their own crew, and their own liability. The only downside to that is you have no control over how fast or when they can get that done. All you have is a contract. And most of the time when you're dealing with contractors, whatever you agree upon, very, very few, even some of the best of them, stick to the deadline. Because why? They feel like they're independent. They feel like, hey, you hired me, you trusted me, I got my own crew, I got my own guys, you don't know what's going on over here, blah, 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 right? So could be a good thing, but also too could be a bad thing as well, because now you're now liable for disappointment on your end when you've already made promises to your other constituents. Now, W-2 presents an even greater solution, but also different problem, where the solution is, when you hire that person on a W-2, that person is there to perform that specific job, to get it done as efficient, as fast. This is what they're getting paid to do on a weekly basis. Okay, so now they're gonna have a higher sense of dedication to you, because you are the one that's paying them. See, when you pay a contractor, you pay the head guy, whether it's the general contractor or whatever lead contractor, and then those checks get dispersed, okay, and they are loyal to him because of what? Because he's getting paid. He's paying his employees. Now, when you reverse that and you come and you take the ownership and you start paying your employees, all of a sudden you get that same dedication. The only thing is, the W-2 is a truth game. Do you have the sales? Do you have the revenue? Do you have those gross margins that can afford to pay somebody weekly? Or do you have to stick with oh my God, y'all, oh my gracious, that was crazy right there. I promise you, people really, I don't know if it's safe to film out here, but I'm taking a risk. People really will swerve because they're trying to be nosy instead of looking at the road. This person's driving like 40 miles per hour in the neighborhood right now. And that was kind of alarming. But back to the story. So the W-2, again, I'm gonna repeat myself, is truth-based. Do you have the sales that you are asking for in return for the effort that you need that employee to be able to output? Can you afford that W-2 employee to be able to sit here every day and work on your initiative? That is why most people lean towards 1099 over W-2. And we're gonna go deeper into that in our actual conversation when we do our interview. So, okay, next, you're gonna have to also, when you are getting contracts, it is sales-based. So business does kind of have some type of sales experience attached to it. You do need some type of sales experience, and that may be a little, but guess what? If you're focused on leadership and development, you can hire a salesperson, and then you can also too pay them the commission rate that they desire. So it's a few ways that you can think about it. But again, going back, the biggest thing in business and wealth creation is leadership and development. Can you lead the people that you desire to have in your organization? And can you develop them into becoming leaders within your organization so you can do more delegation? You can have now, once you build a leader up and you develop that leader, you can now trust that leader to get the job done. And then you can continuously build yourself, build your organization, and you can actually have time to enjoy the things that you like, which is yourself. You got to enjoy yourself. You want and desire to enjoy your family and your kids. That's your heart. That's your biggest thing. So my advice to you and to anyone who's listening, when it comes to business, think about leadership and development first. Business is super simple, but leading people, that's the caveat. Leading people is an art because it all stems back to you. And most people have difficulty leading because it may just not be the industry. They may be passionate about an industry, but it may not be the industry that they're an expert in. So guess what? That presents even more time. Where are you gonna waste time? You may have some short-term success, but will you be able to keep that cadence on something that you have very little knowledge about, but you're so-called passionate about? Or are you gonna go where your knowledge base is, not caring about what people think and feel, because everything that you are desiring right now has been inputted into your brain, even your job, even your skill set, so on and so forth. So are you gonna go into a place and lead an industry that you are most well-versed about? That's the biggest question you have to ask yourself. Because business, when you go to a bank, they have a name and they have transactions. That's it. They don't have passion. They don't have, they do require you to state how many employees that you have, but that's it. They just want to see, does this name match the transactions based on the lending that they are requesting or benefits that they are requesting? So my advice to you is, and everyone who's listening, pick an industry that you are well-versed in. Pick an industry you are well-versed in, not what you see as an opportunity. Because the reason why that person can sell you that opportunity is because they spent so much time and it's just reeling off out of their mouth to a point where they are at the convincing point, and they even have convinced you to be a part of their dream. That right there is exactly what you want for your business. You want to be able to reel things off so fluid that it's like, oh man, I can see the passion. I can feel the passion. I know that's what you're doing. I know that this is what your focus is. And that's what you want your team to be able to admire you for. You want to be sold out to this dream. But guess what? You can't be sold out to anything that you don't have any information on, because what? You don't know the route. So that passion that you think is passion is actually you learning more about the subject so you can feel comfortable to present it to someone. It's not that you know. It's not that you spent 10 years doing it. Most of the time, this market is based on impulse 99% of the time. And what you see, that person has just sold the dream to you so good that it's like, man, this is it. Not realizing this person has probably spent 5 to 10 years on this same mission, and it's just now finally reaching you. Okay? So that's the biggest thing. Don't be afraid to follow what you're already good at. Do not be afraid to take that chance in an industry, even that you're in. It might not have a person that's as dedicated as you, that has that knowledge base to be able to even have a competitor. You may be your only competitor, especially locally. Now, I'm not talking about globally, because there's very few things that we can do that people haven't done already. So we got to bring it back to a local sense. Do you see yourself leading locally? And if you do, then guess what? That presents a huge opportunity, because now you're going to take what you know and what you have spent your career doing. You have also may have a degree in this subject, and you may have some certs. You're going to take all of that experience. You're going to go figure out a way, AKA a lawyer, to establish it and set it up properly. And what's your next step? Your next step is you're going to set up a system for people to be able to follow, called SOPs, standards of procedures. After that, guess what? It's time to either put up or shut up, right? Do you got the money already on hand, or do you got to go get lending? In the moment, what's the next step? Did I say? After that, after you go get the lending, are you going to go buy a business, or are you going to try to go make the sales yourself? My recommendation is you get enough lending that you can go buy a business already in your industry. Now, you may be in an industry with a larger addressable market, which means that that addressable market being so large, you may have to build it from the ground up. You may have to. If you were to go buy a business right now, of course it's going to cost over 100 grand. Correct? It may even cost over 300 grand. Depends on how much cash flow is coming in. Now, this is a low-level business. This is startup style business prices, okay? Really, startup is anything from here to $1 million. Technically online, if you look it up, a startup company has $40 million or less. Okay, so you're gonna be in startup mode for a while, you know, and everybody really is, until they put that time in. So your next step again is, are you gonna start from scratch, or are you gonna start with revenue already coming in? I can't tell you. Whatever decision you decide to make, that is going to be how fast you grow. That is going to dictate the stress level that you have within your own business, because it's nothing like building something from the ground up and losing that startup money. It's crushing. It's soul crushing, right? That's why I recommend anybody, and I consult individuals, to have a better startup experience. Please try, if you can, to get enough capital to buy a business with customers and employees. Now, let me tell you how this transitions from your job. Now, if you have a leadership position in your job, what is leadership on your job based around? Compliance, right? Leadership on your job is based around compliance and rules and regulations, making sure you are following the rules. Also, your constituents and your associates are following the rules, and the employees. the governance. So now that transitions into a business that you can roll into with employees, because guess what? If you're in a leadership position on your job, you can roll right into a leadership position in your business. When you buy an established business, they already have SOPs. If they don't, it'll be much easier to establish SOPs because of why? Because you already have employees. You can get data. You can ask questions about this. You can ask your managers how things are going, what they expect, what is the culture in the business. Again, the bank is only looking at the transaction. You got to make it juicy. You got to dress it up and make it sellable. You got the input so you can get output. But at the end of the day, input into something that's already flowing. And then my next step, once you go forward after that, again, we're gonna get into a lot more in depth, but to keep it short, your next step is, okay, I bought the business. I did exactly like what you said. I finally bought the business with employees. I have 12 employees. We're about $1.5 million annual in cash flow or revenue. But I still have a passion to start my own thing. Guess what's different this time? You also have a business that you can add value to. You have a business that, guess what? You can now draw money from, so it doesn't have to come from your personal account. Now the business can buy the business that you desire. Because guess what? It's not that you want to start it from scratch. You just want to add more money. So guess what? That business is going to purchase the business that holds that money. Super simple. I just wanted to go over that this morning. I can't wait till I interview, bro. Hey, let me know if you gain anything from this video. Anybody that's watching, I will put my form into the description so you all will be able to fill it out and I can answer your questions live. And if you're local, we'll be able to take a stroll together just like this morning and be able to answer these questions for you in person where we can really get in depth. Thank y'all. Y'all go out here again, get up, get moving, get passionate about something, okay? Because guess what? It's just one decision away. With the right mindset, with the right input into your brain, I can set you on a path that was much easier than starting from scratch. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Y'all take care.